Look at this. Ooh, those are some scratches. Oh, it's a LeMond steel bike. Wait a second. The sticker says OCLV. Where are they saying OCLV? Oh, there it is. The carbon frame, Zurich. This is a spine bike from LeMond. Let's review. Check this bad boy out. Welcome to I Know a Guy Bicycles.
Welcome to I Know a Guy Bicycles, hanging out with the guy. Hi, I'm Justin, the guy. Obviously, I have a garage shop. Taking scary how to use bikes one bike at a time.
If you like these videos, please like and subscribe. Welcome back to I Know a Guy Bicycles, hanging out with the guy. Hey, I'm Justin, the guy on this old bike series. This is the LeMond Zurich spine bike. What's a spine bike? It's a combination of carbon OCLV and steel chromoly. This is actually the OX Platinum series from, who is it? True Temper. They did use a couple different ones, so I had to double check. But anywho, these spine bikes are actually pretty cool. It's a combination of the feel of steel with the lightweight with carbon fiber. They only made them for a couple of years. I have not really seen any newer innovations of this. Maybe there's a reason. But anyway, these ones were actually pretty cool with the LeMond geometry, which fit a little bit differently than Trek, obviously, as well as Klein under the Trek umbrella. So it had its own little fit, if you would feel, who you feeling me here. So for me, I have a couple of LeMonds. Full disclosure, I have a pop rod cyclocross bike, which it fits me like a glove and it is wonderful to ride. Also, I'm riding a Buenos Aires full carbon one of the last years that LeMond was being made underneath the Trek umbrella. Pretty awesome little ride, supple, comfy, and again, the geometry fits me like a glove. That being said, when you're looking for a used bike, fit is the first thing you need to be looking for. Making sure the frame that you're looking for is the right size for your height, and then it can be adjusted to you. Each model or each type of bike and model has their own ride properties to them. Okay, this can get really confusing when you're out there looking for bikes. Yeah, you're gonna have to get out there and test ride them. It's gonna be more of a difference than you actually test ride cars. Reason being is you are the body fitting the cockpit of the bike. Some are going to be a little more aggressive position. Some are going to be more lax position. Some are going to be for endurance riding. One's for racing. Some are just for comfort and fun. So all those kinds of things you got to keep in mind. What kind of riding you're going to be doing and how's that ride going to be reflected in the performance of the bike itself by the brand. Because that's the only thing that makes the different brands different, right? Well, let's give you a school on that. The frame from a Trek, a frame from a LeMond, or frame from a Specialized, all have little subtle nuances to the frame geometry. That's the only thing that's different between each particular brand, and that's the only thing that the brand is made. Componentry, they're all shared by like either Shimano, SRAM, or whatever. So that's a third of the bike right there is from some other company making those parts. And the wheels, same kind of concept. Yeah, you have your house brands like Bontrager wheels, the Revolve from Specialized, what have you. But that's the other third of the bike. That does have a performance factor as well, of course. But the frame itself dictates the fit and the ride, mostly. Reason being, it's all the angles. That's what makes the difference between each one of them. Okay, now you've been schooled on that. Why am I talking a little about LeMond? Why am I talking about the spine bike? This bad boy is almost 20 years old, that kind of thing. Well, with road bikes specific, I'm not talking about mountain bikes because technology changes quite a bit there. I'm not talking about recreational bikes like hybrids and bike path bikes and that kind of thing, or kids bikes. When you're looking at road bikes like are kind of like sports cars, like a Ferrari or a Lamborghini, you know, those kinds of things, right? A Mustang. Road bikes are kind of like in that kind of genre. These are pavement mostly. And that's where they spun off to do gravels and electric assist and all that kind of stuff. But back to the original road bike, if you're going to do an event like the MS-150 or ride the Rockies or triple bypass or Ragbri, that kind of thing, your road bike is going to be what you're going to be looking for mainly because it's going to be the best suited for those particular rides, right? So road bikes, when you walk into the bike shop, currently they're going to be $1,500 to $2,000. That's a big pill to swallow for anybody just to get into road riding. So that pushes majority of those customers into the used market. Welcome. Hi, I'm Justin. I'm from the used market. I'm going to try to help you navigate this used world. You can find some gems out there. The reason being that I'm featuring a lot of these older bikes is mainly these things they're still so relevant, more so than the newer ones almost. The reason being is the newer ones have really, like the higher end ones, have gotten really kind of more of proprietary parts for the particular brand, like the stems and all that kind of thing. This has more universal bits to it. In other words, you can get different stems from different brands of different sizes. That's the headset portion right here. The seat posts, you can get, these are not funky or weird. This is your standard 27.2 seat posts, which you can get a whole plethora of different brands to go with those. Binder bracket standard as well. No crazy internal routing. So it's kind of simple in a sense where that particular chunk of time they made a whole bunch of bikes that still make new parts for, and you can find a plethora of used parts out there to work on those bikes that keep them relevant. Pardon the interruption, there is more. More you say? Push the more button. Push it. Push it. I dare you to push it. Once you push that button, you get more details about the video you're watching, in addition to all the tools that I use in the shop, as well as suggestion for improving your ride. In addition to help me provide advocacy in the cycling community, also links to other social media accounts as well as my website to find the products I actually sell and other insights in the industry. Other videos linked below. Extend your cycling experience here on YouTube. And now back to your original programming. Why am I bringing this up? You can buy a high-end bike that may be a little vintaged, but it'll have a lot more adjustments and abilities, which keeps the cost down too, to get you into that ride. That expensive feel ride without the expensive cost. Well, okay, that $1,500 or $1,000 bike I'm talking about that's new, that's the bottom of the bottom. I'm telling you, these guys were $2,000 to $3,000 back in the day, but now you can pick one up, even have it tuned up and pay for some parts and get it all fixed up for you and still stay under $1,000. You're talking about a high-end performance for a low-end price. Yeah, you got it. I know I'm sounding really pitchy here, but it is kind of a point I'm trying to push across is these particular guys have a lot of life to them. And this one has Ultegra, which is the second step down from the top end. It's not a brainer. I mean, yeah, it's not the newer 11 or 12 speed 1x or whatever, which they actually have their own issues. This particular component package, the Ultegra 6500 series, was a workhorse. They made it for like 5 or 6 years, solid as you know it. It works well. It maintains. It cleans up. You may have to replace some parts of them sometimes, but the beauty part of this is the prices have gone down on those used parts. So if you need to replace something, it's not going to cost you an arm and a leg. You're still keeping that higher performance. In addition to, this bad boy has a triple. I'm for the front derailleurs, people. Sorry. Why are people going by 1x? I mean, it's insane. The shifting, you may still have that range, but it's chunky. I've been spending decades to get rid of the chunk. I got enough chunk here. It's one of those things where you just need to, keep the triple. Why? There's that small chain ring. I'm in Colorado. We have these things in the mountains. They're big. And you're doing a couple mountain passes. Sure, you're going to want to have that smaller chain ring to get up some of those hills. But anywho, so retro reviewing the spine bike from LeMond. You have your more custom, or not custom, but your more traditional headset, seat tube, bottom bracket. The spacing on the wheels is the same, so you can find a plethora of wheels out there to replace them if you want to upgrade even to carbons. I mean, I have some for sale too. And so one of those things that you can make this thing beautiful. But at the end of the day, it's going to ride smoothly because the steel property has more of a give to it. It's what they call the cheap man's titanium steel. Because you can't afford titanium, but titanium prices have gone down. But this is one of those things where you got that feel of the fuel steel, which has that flex to it. It gives you more of a comfortable ride. With the carbon on top, it lightens it up and actually gives that. It's kind of just a fun mix. In addition to, once this bad boy is cleaned up, I mean, I may have to put some parts into it. I paid a little bit more than I probably should for this. But even with the parts that I might have to put into it, and other things like chain, bar tape, pedals, what have you, cables and housing is a given. And once I detail the frame up, it is going to be one of those things you roll up to your group ride and people are going like, ooh, what's that? Reason being, it's unique, but it's functional and it's solid. What can you want more? I mean, I know there's a huge following of those steel people out there, and you're probably watching this going, I see a LeMond video, better watch that. This is the one. And yeah, it does have a little bit of cop out with carbon, sure, but it is one of those things where they were playing with different materials, and I give them credit. They were trying some fun stuff. And, you know, does it really do all the properties that they were probably claiming in the catalogs? Maybe, maybe not, who knows. But still, at the end of the day, it's still a pretty fun bike, and it's going to fit well, and it's going to ride excellent. So that's where it comes down to. Well, a couple things I want to feature, I talked about the headset. It's your standard 1/8" headset, so you can get stems with a little bit bigger bar with 31/8 bars. So there's a whole bunch of parts out there you can switch out if you need to for fitting your shoulder width, your reach length on the stem if you want to be a little bit higher up. All those parts are still available economically too. The seat posts, I mean, this is your standard alloy one. If you want to go to carbon with a setback or a Thompson and all that, 27.2 is your size. That is your standard. Saddles are kind of like shoes. Let's take a moment on this. Saddles are kind of like shoes in the sense that everybody's foot is different. Everybody's butt is different. So saddles are a big thing. One of those deals where when you're shopping for saddles, it might be a pretty expensive lift, but if you buy new from either Trek, Specialized, or another brand that has a fit guarantee, look for that fit guarantee. Reason being, you go on that ride, they may have fitters, they may get you pretty close, but once that 20 or 30 mile ride, that's when your body starts talking to you, and that's when you're going to know if that saddle is going to work for you or not. And then if you have that fit guarantee, you can go back and go, let me try something different. And they're not going to care. They're going to be more than happy to make sure you get on a saddle that makes you comfortable, because at the end of the day, we want you to be happy riding and the less pay points possible. And these are your, the saddle is one of the 3 main contact points, right? The second one is your bars, so you want to be comfortable in your hands and so forth. Gloves is a good thing. And cycling shoes is another thing that I really suggest. If you're doing clipless, definitely do that fit guarantee with new. It's an investment. I know it may be $100 or $200, but you spend that up front, it's going to last you a long time. Saddles don't wear out, really. Cycling shoes don't wear out at all. So it's one of those things, it's an investment. If you're an avid runner and you're like, I'm burning through shoes every 3 to 6 months, I'm not going to pay $200 for a pair of cycling shoes. Well, you can, because they're not going to wear out like your running shoes. It's not one of those things. They're a stiff sole shank shoe. Energy gets forced in there. The only reason you wear them out is basically walking on them, and you usually don't do that much walking while you're riding, say the least. And I do have shoes that are like 20 plus years old. The only reason why I got different ones is I got bored. I wanted a different pair. That's just the only thing. Going back to the 2 contact points, those are, you want to be comfortable to a point when you go for those rides, that's not going to be deterring you for your next ride. Okay, sidebar on that, back to the bike. So when you're looking at the bike, yeah, the frame and fork on this is awesome with the spine. This is where they were bonding the carbons together like the OCLVs, and then they were bonding them to the actual steel frame. These were built in the United States, which is kind of a cool little factor too. The steel frames on these are really solid. They're lightweight, and the geometry is good, and also come with a good LeMond carbon fork. This guy right here, the absorber front. So that's your frame, right? And the geometry is spec'd out, and you can look up LeMond catalogs and get those specs. The Ultegra componentry, this is like the, 99, 98 to 2004-ish, 5-ish is the range that they built these. I mean, millions of them. And you can still find a lot of them, triple, doubles. And what's really cool about the Ultegra of the ST6510 model is the shifter is a double or a triple. So if you had a double Ultegra and you want to switch to a triple with this shifter, you don't need to switch out the shifter. It's the same shifter. All you have to do is the crankset, bottom bracket, front derailleur, rear derailleur, and chain. That's all. I know it sounds like a lot, but it's still, when you take the shifters out of the equation, that saves you $100 to $200. So that's something to think about. The componentry on this is a triple range, so you can get a wider range. Another fun fact on these guys, it has a long cage rear derailleur. It accommodates up to usually a 28. There's these newfangled hangers. I don't know if I have one here, but it's an extension hanger Looks similar to this, but it isn't this. But it'll drop that derailleur down. It's wolf tooth, I think it is. And they will mount to the actual existing hanger. Now it drops the derailleur down to a point where you can accommodate even a wider range, up to I think a 32 tooth. So you can kind of skip up to like what they're doing today, like the 1-bys and the 2-bys with a wide range. You do that with this guy, throw a wolf tooth derailleur hanger adapter on there, drops that derailleur down to accommodate that wider range. So you can get that wide range, but you still have the triple up front. You guessed it, you got more gears to work with to find that sweet spot. Yeah, some of them do kind of overlap and so forth, but if you want that tall climbing gear and you just want to stay in the middle chainring as much as possible without dropping to that small one, once you drop that small one, it's going to be like you're going to be doing a wheelie up that hill. But anyway, that's an option for sure. So that's the fun componentry and the brakes on this Ultegra. But if you got a bike that has some kind of knockoff Tektro brake or what have you, you can find some brakes used for like 30 or 50 bucks that are 105 or Ultegra. I mean, they're not that expensive in the used market, and you can just switch them out, and they don't wear out really. I mean, the worst enemy to them is rust. And if they're pretty clean looking, they're probably going to be just fine. Reason being, brakes are up out of the way, less impact on them. So it's not like the shifters are hanging out here. They get smacked up, like this one's missing its cap. And the rear derailleur sticks out because it gets banged, it gets dinged up from falling over or whatever. But the brakes, 30, 50 bucks, pretty inexpensive lift. Give you a little bit better braking performance. But even then, between the Tektros and the Ultegra brakes or 105 brakes, the performance are pretty close. I mean, it's just more like if you want a more matchy, that kind of thing. The last thing I want to cover is wheels. This one actually was upgraded to, what are these? These are the Fulcrum wheels. And, oh, that's just the tire rubbing. It has one of those King tires. I thought it was the rim. That particular tire wheels on these are pretty decent. They're more upper end. This particular vintage had the Bontrager paired spokes where I have quite a few of them they cracked under the rear wheel on the drive side. The short spoke would be over tensioned, or the rim was just they took out too much material to lighten it up, and they developed hairline cracks around the spoke nipples. So that's something you want to look at for the Bontrager paired spoke if you're looking at a bike like this in this vintage. Just double check that. For me, when I come across them, it's about 50-50. Like some of them are okay. Most likely they're not. The rear wheel's toast, and I have an extra front wheel, so I've got a lot of extra wheels that I had to get rid of. But anywho, these were been upgraded. So when you see a bike like this and you see the wheels have been changed, that could have been it. So there's two reasons really. If something doesn't have the OEM part on it, it's either they decided to go with the upgrade or that part failed. Or I guess there's a third reason, a crash. So those are kind of the questions you're filling out with a bike. If you saw a bike online that's your size, and you're like, oh, this is something I want to take a look at. And if you notice that the OEM spec sheet doesn't match quite, then you can ask those questions like, why does it have a different bar? Or why does it have a different wheel? That kind of thing. And then they can give you those answers. If it's sold to use, you're not going to get that information. But if it's the original owner, and that's why I like trying to buy from the original owners for the most part, is you got that history, and they know what they've done to the bike, that kind of thing. And most of the time they're up front saying, oh, I switched it out because of fit reasons, or I lost a wheel or backed over it or whatever. They'll have a story to go with it that makes sense versus, I don't know. And I don't know can lead a lot of other I don't knows, and a lot of I don't knows could end up, you feel like you're sprinkling money all over the place trying to get this bike up to spec. But, and again, when you're looking at bikes used, frame and fork, inspect those meticulously to make sure there's nothing funky or anything going on with that. But I'm excited to work on this bike. I've been on I've had a few of these that I've done before. They're really fun. I've actually ridden one for a season. Very comfortable, awesome ride. And this one's a 59, a little bit big for me, so I'm not going to get to ride this one. But for somebody a little bit taller than I was going to have one excellent, beautiful bike after I'm done with it. And with my latest polishing techniques and materials, I'm really excited to see how this paint job pops in the sun because the clear coat on this guy has a little bit of a glitter to it. So you'll see the carbon weave with a little bit of a glitter. Ooh, it's just beautiful sometimes when you get it to work. Got to be careful with these paints though, with the LeMonds. On the paint on the steel is very thin. It's not like you can dig into that clear coat and buff out those scratches. You kind of just have to go over it once, lightly and politely, and it is what it is. It's just, you're just protecting it and then put on a good ceramic coating at the end. So that's what I'm looking forward to doing this guy. Yeah, let me just dive into this and start cutting teeth. So, well, thanks for hanging out with me in the garage, and let me spew my guts all over about this particular bike and clean up a little bit of the drool. If you like videos like this, smash the buttons below. Hey, you like this shirt? And down there below too. Anyway, thanks for hanging out with me in the garage. Until next time, if it's beautiful in your neck of the woods, please go for a ride. It's a beautiful day. And check out these awesome pictures. Final results after this.